All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the final session in the Technological Solutions track, where we'll hear from Evan and Olivia at the University of Idaho on growing CollectionBuilder, developing an agile library-centric approach to digital collections and scholarship projects. My name is Gabrielle, and I'll be the conference committee member moderating this session. Before I hand things over to our presenters, I just want to quickly point out that we'll answer questions at the end of the session. But you can submit your questions at any time by clicking on the Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you don't see that bar, you should be able to make it appear by hovering your cursor at the bottom of the screen, of the Zoom screen. And there's also a chat button there you can use for comments or discussion, or if you're having a tech issue. But please do use the Q&A for asking questions for the conversation at the end. And with that, I will pass things on to Evan and Olivia.
All right, thank you, Gabrielle. So hello and welcome to our presentation on CollectionBuilder. My name is Olivia Wikle, and here presenting with me today is my colleague Evan Williamson, and we're both digital librarians at the University of Idaho. The other member of our development team, Devin Becker, regretfully can't be here today, but is a major force behind this project as well. So thank you so much for having us. We are excited to be here and to talk to you about CollectionBuilder, which is...
I put in the chat a link to the slides in case you want to grab them for yourself and click on the links, because there's a lot of links in there.
Great, thanks, Evan. So CollectionBuilder, for those of you who don't know, is an open source tool for creating digital collections, and it's driven by metadata and powered by modern static web technology. And we put the URL for our CollectionBuilder website on this slide here. If you're interested in learning more about the tool or trying it out yourself, we have extensive documentation as well as web video tutorials on that site. And we're always happy to talk to you via email or chat with you individually if you have questions as you get started and want to ask us more. But to start out, I'm going to explain the basics of what CollectionBuilder entails. And we've distilled these down to 3 components. And these are a spreadsheet of metadata, a folder of digital objects such as JPEGs and PDFs, and a CollectionBuilder code template, which can be found on GitHub. So to really simplify the process, you upload the metadata and the objects to the template, and you get a complete digital collection website. With a front page, it looks something like this. And if you worked really hard on your metadata to create values for some key fields, such as date or subject or location, latitude and longitude, then that same metadata is going to generate a variety of contextual visualizations automatically. And these include browse pages, subject clouds, maps, timelines, and data tables. So the next few slides are just showing you what examples of each type of page looks like. So on the left here, we have a scrollable browse page, and you can see there's little cards for each item on the page that contain thumbnails of the item, as well as buttons that usually highlight subjects or any important metadata about the item. You can click on those buttons to filter the page to see what other items have similar subjects, and you can also search the page with the search box at the top of the screen. On the right, we have a subject cloud visualization that visualizes word frequency. So in this case, the more a word appears in the subject field, the bigger it's going to appear in this word cloud. You can click those buttons and go back to the browse page, see what else has that subject as well. On the left here, we have a map. So the map has markers, and if you click on a marker, it's going to have a little pop-up with the item that exists in that area or is from that area. And that is complete with a thumbnail as well as some metadata too. And on the right, we have a scrollable timeline with item thumbnails as well. Again, these allow you to click on the item and go to the item page, and then you can go from the item page to view a different visualization. So it's all really interconnected. So the metadata that is consumed to make those visualizations is also processed and exposed on the site as a filterable data table. So you can see that data without downloading it, but if you do want to download it, there are also a variety of downloadable formats These include CSV, JSON, GeoJSON. So a lot of different options there. And of course, the metadata spreadsheet generates the content of the item pages as well, which also have options for downloading objects, exploring the image through a gallery view, and linking to related items and information. So these under subjects here, these links, and I'll show you later, can link back to the browse page, and you can see what else has those subjects. So beyond generating reusable data derivatives, the metadata also generates rich machine readable markup in HTML, which facilitates things like search engine optimization, harvesting, as well as sharing on social media. So this really gets to the heart of collections as data, which is what drives our development process. We work really hard on our metadata to generate those visualizations, as well as machine readable data for a number of different reasons as well. And then finally, the metadata allows users to really easily write with their digital collection by embedding the collection items within the pages that they write. So often this takes the form of an about page where the collection builder is writing about telling the story of the items in the collection, and we've made it easy to pull in the items, whether they be images or videos or PDFs or audio. You can write and then pull out that item that you're writing about to really give your users some context about the collection. So a little overview of how this is all working. The first step is you gather your objects and you work really hard on creating really clean metadata that has the fields that are going to generate the visualizations that you want. And we like to really emphasize this aspect of creating your metadata and getting your objects ready outside of the platform itself, because it prepares, but by doing so, you're not only preparing everything for CollectionBuilder, but you're also making it ready for preservation, and you're making it ready for future platforms you might migrate to in the future. So after you prepare all of this, you can just put it on your digital archive, and it's stored and it's ready to go, no matter what you need to use it for in the future. After that point, you're going to locate and make a copy of the CollectionBuilder code template on GitHub. And for those who maybe aren't familiar with it, GitHub is a code hosting platform for version control and collaboration. And after you've found the template, you've copied it, you're going to upload your metadata and your objects to the template, and then you're going to configure your site. And you're going to do that by editing the template's plain text configuration file, which is written in YAML. And YAML is a human readable language for organizing and storing data. It's really simple to understand, variable and value format. And I'll show you an example of what that looks like in a second. So then we get to this middle part here where Jekyll is going to build the site's static files for you. And this can be done on your computer using a Jekyll development server if you've downloaded it, or by activating GitHub Pages, which builds your website for free for you. Jekyll is a static site generator for those who don't know. And that means that it builds out all the site's HTML, CSS, and JavaScript files completely before the site is made live. And this is in contrast to platforms you're probably familiar with and content management systems you're familiar with, such as WordPress or Drupal, which use server-side processing to render a page only after the user chooses to navigate to it. In contrast, in a static site, that page is already rendered before the user navigates to it. And Evan's going to talk more about the benefits of this approach and how we think they're really great for libraries. But for now, all you need to know is that in this step, Jekyll is building out these flat files that make up the CollectionBuilder site. So after that, you probably want to do a little bit of customization to bring out what makes your collection really unique. So you're going to adjust the values of CollectionBuilder's other YAML file, which this one's called theme, and as well as a few CSV configuration files. And then you're going to host your site either on GitHub Pages or on a web server of your choice. So I'm going to show a little quick look at what it what kind of building a collection involves with CollectionBuilder. I'm going to jump out to GitHub here, and this is the CollectionBuilder GH repository. And I just wanted to, so GH stands for GitHub Pages. We use this a lot for teaching and workshops. And I wanted to highlight that what I'm showing you is going to be done through the GitHub web interface, but you can also clone the code and download Jekyll onto your computer and do all of this in a text editor or an integrated development system. We usually use Visual Studio Code. And that's usually much faster and convenient if you're doing extensive development. However, the browser interface is really great for teaching because you can accomplish the same goal without having to spend time downloading that software. So here I am in the repository, but before I do anything with the code, I actually want to prepare my objects and metadata. So I do have my objects here. Let me switch over and show you. They're just in a folder on my computer and they're ready to go. I have MP3s, JPEGs, and PDFs. And then if I go back to my browser, I have my metadata and I'm creating it in Google Sheets, which is what we usually recommend to create it in. It's easy to collaborate and download as a CSV. And I've just gone through and made sure that I have all the required fields that are necessary for CollectionBuilder. There's not too many of them, but if you're doing this yourself, you can look at our documentation. We specify what those are. They include an object ID, which is a unique identifier that I've created for each item. I have the item's file name. I have a YouTube ID here. So if you have collection items that are on YouTube, it's really easy to add them into your collection by just entering your YouTube ID to this field. And then I have a lot of the standard digital collection fields, such as title, format. And then I made sure here to have my date in the correct format, as well as subject and latitude and longitude where applicable. So because I want those visualizations to show up on my site. If you have a collection that doesn't have latitude and longitude, that's completely fine. You would just leave it off here, and then you would get rid of the map page from showing up on your site. So I'm going to go back to my repository here, and I would just, at this point, actually before I do that, I would download my metadata from Google Sheets as a CSV or comma separated values file. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just going to kind of show you where things go. I would upload then my metadata to the data folder that's right at the top of the repository. You can do that through add file, upload files. And then I would upload my objects too that I showed you right at the beginning, all of those JPEGs and PDFs into the objects folder. I would just add them here. And then the very last step before I can create the site is going to that configuration file. So here I have my config YAML. And as I scroll down here, you can kind of see that variable value format. The variables here are in green. I wonder if I can zoom in. There you go. Green, and then the values are in blue or like a black color here. And so you just would work down the file here, and we have a documentation before each variable that tells what should go in that category. The site settings are just your your title, your description of the site, and then probably the most important value for you to fill in right at the beginning is your metadata. And so this is just the name of your metadata CSV is going to go in the value for metadata. So in this case, Psychiana underscore CB demo would go there. And you would commit that and push your changes if you're doing this for real. So at that point, you would have a site that's ready to be built. And on when we're teaching workshops, everybody makes a GitHub Pages site. You go to settings on GitHub Pages, you scroll down to the GitHub Pages section. There's a button you can push to publish your site. And this one's already published. But once you publish it, it's going to give you this website. And you can jump out and take a look. And this is just our demo site. But when you make a collection, yours will look something a lot like this. It won't be customized yet, so it won't have your whatever image you eventually pick for your featured image, but it will have all of your items showing up in your browse page, and then they will have their own item pages as well with their metadata on the side. And if something is not working, it's usually a sign that you need to fix something in your metadata. So you go back at that point, figure out what value you maybe put in wrong, and then re-upload it and see how it goes. So here, just to give you an example of how things are interconnected, I can click on, a subject from the subject cloud, come back to the browse page, and it sorts those items for me. I can do the same thing from the browse page itself. I can go to the map and click on an item, and then go view that item, and same for the timeline. There are just a few other places you'd want to edit at this point to customize your site. And I'll just show you where those are so they're in the data folder. You go to theme YAML to customize a few things such as the featured image, and then you'd go to these configuration CSVs. There's just a few of them up here, and they're going to enable you to configure things like what's on the browse cards, what shows up on the map pop-up, what shows up in your navigation bar, and they're just in CSV format. So you're simply just adding in values or you're deleting rows. It's a pretty quick process to update these if you want to. So I think that covers the quick look, and now Evan's going to talk more about our process of development. So I'm going to turn it over to him.
Okay, sorry there. Yeah, thank you, Olivia, for all of that. That's a really nice overview. And what you might have noticed there is that CollectionBuilder is literally a folder of files. It's not a content management system. It's not a digital asset management system or some other type of dynamic web application, which is what you're typically used to seeing in the context of building digital collections and repositories. So content management systems, digital asset management systems, they're dynamic web applications. They require server-side programming language. They require some database setup, a suite of applications running on your server in order to function. If you interact with them typically with oh wait, sorry, I'm in the wrong sheet there, slide there. Sorry, I was like, this doesn't make sense. All right, so you interact with them with these kind of admin interfaces that you're used to seeing on WordPress or Drupal, or in this case, Content DM and Omeka. So you fill out forms, you click through all kinds of settings, and that's how you manage and build digital collections and websites. And as Olivia already alluded to, each time a visitor visits a page in your website in this type of digital repository, then the server's got to process that request on the fly, pull the information out of the database, put it together with some templates, and then deliver that result back to the user, which is really quite magical. If you think about it, something like social media, where there's this never-ending stream of totally unique content for every user, but it does come with some really significant costs. So for high quality performance and scaling to lots of users, you need big and beefy servers, both for your user side and also often for your admin side, to have your workflows be able to process materials coming in. So these are heavy, really complicated pieces of infrastructure. They use a lot of energy, electricity. They require a lot of IT support, and they need constant updates and maintenance to avoid causing major security risks. You don't want to leave your WordPress and your Drupal not updated. So setting up Drupal or a Omeka isn't just set it and forget it. You're adopting a puppy that really is going to need your constant attention for the long term. In contrast, CollectionBuilder is a static web template. Using it is going to look a lot different. And the process is, yeah, as you can already see, is not the same. There's no admin interface. So initially, when we conceived of this project, we were really, we were setting up all of these Omeka instances just for one-off classroom experiences. And we wanted to get away from setting up and maintaining those platforms so we could just focus back on the fundamentals of data that we really wanted to be teaching our students. And so we wanted our collaborators to be focusing on digitization, creating really quality metadata, describing those objects, and really focusing in on that kind of the real scholarship of this work of research, curation, and description. And so that really investment in that data is the part that's going to outlive any of your particular web projects or particular web platform. And so we really think it should be done separate from a platform rather than doing it through the forms of a specific platform. So instead of that admin interface with CollectionBuilder, you're going to be looking at something more like this, where you have digitization equipment, spreadsheets, and then text editors. And then in this case, I have Visual Studio Code with a project template open. And in this little terminal window, which is integrated in the text editor in this case, this is Jekyll actually running, processing all those files to create the static website. And then in this case, serving it up on a local development server so that you can test it out on your local machine and play around with what you're doing and do some iterative development. So why? Why would you subject yourself to this? And that might be a fair enough question. With modern static web approaches, you give up some of that apparent ease of using the GUI admin interfaces that you see in content management systems. However, on the technical side of things, there's some really appealing benefits that have driven a boom in static generators in the last 5 years or so. First of all, it's just sheer performance. Static web pages can be really fast, providing better access for all of your users around the globe on all kinds of devices. Second, from an infrastructure perspective, it's just simpler. It has very minimal requirements for your server. That's simplifying your costs, that's simplifying your IT, and simplifies maintenance, which also is going to lower your security risk for the system overall. Third part about that is just a simplified developer experience. People really like creating static web projects because it's relatively easy and it gives you full control over the site. You don't need to know everything. You don't need to be a full stack developer. So in our context, very few librarians are full stack developers. Few of us would be comfortable just writing our own digital repository platforms from scratch. Yet with a static generator, there's a learning curve initially, but it's very doable. It's very approachable. And after a little bit of experience, you can actually master it without a computer science degree, without being, an IT admin. And so it's doable. We can do it in the libraries ourselves. Some other aspects there. The static web projects, as Olivia showed, are just plain text files. So version control is very easy, which is not possible with databases. And that allows teams to collaborate using GitHub or similar platforms. And that really facilitates contributions from a wide variety of folks and outside collaborators, inside collaborators, and seeing your workflow and managing your projects in those kind of platforms. Jekyll, as we saw, has a local development server built in that simplifies testing and development in your site, enables anyone working anywhere to start testing your site without any kind of test infrastructure set up. That really streamlines rapid development and design cycles. And that rapid design and data iteration lets you build out your projects in smaller steps and allows your data to get published faster, which lets you get feedback earlier with less investment on the project. And so that's really a nice way to build. That's part of the whole benefits of agile project management in general. And you always have that continuous opportunity to progressively enhance your project going forward. So it's a very nice way to work. For libraries in particular, we think that those unique qualities of the static web approach actually have some additional benefits that we're very interested in. So I said sustainable workflows and infrastructure. So it costs less, there's less maintenance, but that actually matches up very well with the way that we do work in academics, where we have short periods of very focused development and collaboration, followed by very long periods of minimal maintenance. It might be grant funded, it might be a fellowship, it might be just a regular digital collection, but that really, that focused development, working on a short period of time and then letting it sit on its own, that's okay in the static web design or approach. So if you go out and you look at the links of cool digital humanities projects from 2015, you're going to find that the majority of them are probably broken, which is kind of sad. And so that infrastructure, really, those choices underneath are making an impact on how much resources you have to invest in it to keep it running. The static site in 5 years is going to look maybe dated, but it's still accessible, totally usable without any maintenance. And it's not going to become a security risk. So many Drupal sites out there are, in fact, turned into spam bots. We've had that in our own context with a WordPress site that was not updated and, in fact, not even used. And it turned into a tool that was hacked to use to send out spam and generate weird ads in the dark web or something. So you don't want that. Static web lets you avoid any of that kind of risk. Preservation-ready content. Your project work is focused on creating that data independent of a platform, which really simplifies your initial infrastructure decision points and your overhead, but ensures that you're making an investment in preservation. All of your this package of data that you've kind of created is separate from the system in a clear way, and it's really just a package of preservation formats ready to go into your digital repository, dark archive, or wherever else, however else you're managing your digital preservation. And the second part of that is acknowledging the fact that migration is reality in digital libraries. We're not going to be on the same platforms forever, so make sure that data is ready to go wherever you want to put it. The second part about that is that the static site itself is just a bunch of plain text HTML, which is a preservation format, and it's easily preserved and captured by web archives, whereas a lot of database and dynamic websites are not. So very preservation friendly. I said agile, flexible, modular projects. And so because CollectionBuilder is built out of a whole bunch of sort of modular components and templates and recipes, this encourages you to kind of learn them and remix them in a whole lot of different ways. Each time you get started on one project, you learn about, some feature that you want to be able to develop for that particular project. And then that little investment in a new modular component is able to drive further research and scholarship going forward. So you can keep remixing and reusing it, building up a complementary body of work. So each project can build upon one another. And finally, educational in nature. So this might seem like a pretty odd benefit, but we really think that the learning curve and the investment that you do to learn static web approach is going to empower users to better understand the digital world that we all live in. And interacting directly with that data and configuration files, the users will have the opportunity to really build up your development skills and digital literacies in a scaffolded way, rather than just learning the buttonology of a single kind of admin interface in a single platform. So just learning one platform, how to click buttons on it, really doesn't give you fundamental digital skills. So this is why we're really focused on kind of getting started documentation on our project, trying to remove some of those initial barriers, because once you start learning, it's really going to open up avenues for creating all sorts of projects and taking agency over the systems that you use. So we really kind of needed a word to talk about what we mean here. And so informed kind of by the philosophy of minimal computing in libraries, we've been documenting this kind of methodology called libstatic methodology, where we're trying to bring a community of practice centering digital infrastructure approaches around the unique needs and values and opportunities that we have in libraries. So simply stated, libstatic is seeking to apply the techniques of modern static web approach to pragmatically solve problems in the digital library ecosystem. And this is really different from most models right now for platforms and tools, which are huge monolithic software kind of packages, kind of traditional software development aims. And we're looking instead to minimize infrastructure, minimize IT staffing, and so that we can independently maintain and implement the systems that we're using. So we're focusing on practical, sustainable workflows using data-driven static web templates hosted on simplified infrastructure, because that leverages the in-house skills that librarians already have in metadata, data, and organization. And this has the opportunity to provide really unique agency and ownership over all of our platforms, as well as meaningful opportunities for professional development in our kind of fundamental digital skills. So overall, I think that this focus on the clean data, simple systems enables this agile and responsive approach in our digital infrastructure, where we can iteratively develop new features, gradually acquire developer skills, and flexibly migrate between different kinds of hosts without having to do a lot of deep investment in digital infrastructure. So I think an important point there is we really want to acknowledge that every digital project no matter what platform you're going to use, is going to require a really deep investment in learning. And so we want to seek to maximize the impact locally and the value of that learning during the process, while establishing some technical solutions and the kind of workflows that'll more closely match the structure of our academic work cycles and the needs in the library. So this kind of visualization that we pulled together and kicking it around for quite a while, just trying to summarize these ideas in a concise way. So getting back to CollectionBuilder in general, we have some different types of this template of CollectionBuilder, depending on where you want to store your digital objects and the technical expertise, and then the aims of your project. So the most commonly used one that goes back, that has the longest history with us and with other people, is CollectionBuilder GH for GitHub pages. And that's really focused on teaching and learning. You can implement it without installing anything on your computer, just using the GitHub web interface. And it's really great for these small projects, going into the classroom, teaching at conferences, which we've done quite a bit, and a good place to get started learning about how CollectionBuilder works. You can go through that GitHub pages version, and that's going to give you all the skills and kind of understanding to actually implement other versions as well. The second version is standalone essay, and this one is supposed to be a fully featured template designed where you would probably host it yourself. You would have more objects, more high quality objects, and you're probably going to be working with it on your local machine. And so, but everything is there. It's all a self-contained template that's ready to be modified and used in unique ways to build out your websites. And then the other main version is CollectionBuilder Content DM, which is a skin that we built on top of Content DM digital collections that will provide a better user interface for browsing and discovery. And it uses the APIs that are built into Content DM to call in the images and objects into the web pages from your existing repository. And this we kind of developed for our own uses to build skins on top of our entire Content DM repository. And some other folks have already been using this as well, and also modifying that same concept to put it on top of other types of repositories, such as Sobek or Mukutu. And finally, we're currently kind of actively working on the Elastic version, which is supposed to be a complete replacement for a repository system where we do some of the complicated search indexing with a kind of centralized Elasticsearch app hosted in the cloud. And then you have the static skins kind of around that. So each of these are designed to be progressive. You can kind of learn the basics by following the example and gradually learn more to customize that template with a very scaffolded type of approach. And once you really understand how the parts and these little modular components of the CollectionBuilder work together, then it's really a recipe that you can remix to rapidly create and sustain all kinds of different projects. So we just wanted to give you a bunch of examples of projects that we've worked on. And I think one of the keys to take away is just that the static web approach has really freed us up a lot of time and energy and creativity to pursue all kinds of new ideas and initiatives. And it's really opened up a lot of unique collaborations across our campus and with people outside as well, and unique learning opportunities as well. So outside of CollectionBuilder itself, we just do all kinds of static web development, including open music textbook, workshop outlines, oral history projects, scholarly edition, research archives, and then even our main library website. So we really love static web, and it's kind of infused all of our work. And CollectionBuilder is kind of one of the nice refined packages that we've tried to put out there for other people to use and learn with and adapt to their own use cases. So I think I'm going to turn it to Olivia to do some more here.
Okay, so I'm going to go quickly since we have a little bit of time for questions, but I'm just going to show some different types of uses for using CollectionBuilder to work with digital collections. I'm going to start with our own digital collections. So we have almost, or I think between 50 and 60 collections from our digital collections that have been created using the CollectionBuilder Content DM skin. And we have our own customized CollectionBuilder Content DM template that we use for this. We've sort of created a unique way of working with GitHub in this case, and that we really utilize the branch function of the repository. So we do all of our development on the master branch here. If we want to update anything in the code that we want to then push out to all of the collections, this is where we do it. But we create each specific digital collection by creating it as a branch in this repository. So you can see there's 69 branches here. If I scroll down, I'm going through all of our digital collections here. And this way of working is really collaborative. It allows Devin and Evan and me to edit and develop iteratively. It also has brought in a lot of opportunities with other people. So our library staff, our digital library staff, the people that work in our digital lab are able to edit collections as well. And sometimes we even have students contributing too. And this allows, since all of the branches are separate from each other, we can push the edits made in the master branch to those branches, but we can also really customize the branches to fit the unique context of that collection. So in this case, we've made this collection has really great photographs. So we made the carousel here bigger, taller than a lot of the carousels on our other digital collections. So that is one advantage of using it in our own context. Last year, we had the great experience of working with our partner, North Carolina State Archives and Digital Collections. And they also put all of their content on Content DM. They wanted a way to create a collection with CollectionBuilder Skin that pulled from multiple collections at once, multiple of their Content DM collections. And they were, in particular, this collection is related to women's history in North Carolina. So they wanted to pull out all of that women's history content across collections and create one collection that features it. And so we were able to edit the code a little bit to allow drawing from multiple collections. And since doing this, we found that other people are really interested in it as well. And it's an example of, working outside of our own context to see what other people are interested in and what fits them, not just us. And then the last example I wanted to show is from the University of Washington, Tacoma. This is a collection of oral histories of people talking about the foundation of that institution. And this is a great example of what Evan was talking about, of bringing together different things that we've developed from different projects. So in this collection, we have oral histories. And if I click on an item here, you can see I have various media types that are all attached to one item in one place. So I can listen to the transcript, I can see who's talking, I can read the transcript, but I still have that core CollectionBuilder functionality. So I can still sort by subject, and I can still view it in context in the collection in that way. This one has a couple extra features, like this tree map that breaks down the subjects and how they're organized, as well as this visualization example. So this is a visualization of a transcript, and it's separated out by subject. And here are the subjects up here. If I click on this portion, I can see, oh, okay, they're talking about a helicopter. I guess purple is helicopter. So that's an example of something that we've actually developed with our oral history as data tool, another statically developed tool here, and we're able to pull out features of that and just merge it into CollectionBuilder. And it's a really agile way of working. We can get what we need really quickly and just combine them together, since everything's developed in the same fashion. And I think Evan has a few examples he's going to show too, so I will turn it over. Oh, Evan, you're muted.
We're running short on time. I put the link to the slides in one more time in the chat, but there's lots of links in here for you to go explore. The other thing I really wanted to point out is just, again, emphasize the idea that we think this has really freed us up to do all kinds of interesting things. And so we've collaborated with faculty on unique projects. We've collaborated with staff on unique projects that wouldn't normally get to do if we were just working in Content DM. The staff have gotten involved and learned how to use it in special collections, and then they're able to do these very topical types of collections on the fly and get out these interesting curated collections of materials that aren't otherwise published. We've also worked with grad students very extensively in terms of being able to come up with new ways to communicate their research, going beyond just their traditional dissertations, being able to put out more of the content that wouldn't normally get published. If you're doing research in the archives or you're doing research for any kind of research, there's all of this extra material that typically doesn't get out into the open for people to interact with. And so building out these collections with kind of a minimal effort where you've just documented the objects and being able to create it is really a great add-on to their kind of research process. But it also can open up these new forms of research. I think this HJCC is a really great example of that. We've also worked with undergrads and doing also in the classroom projects where people do their archival research and then have a digital collection to show for it. So there's a lot of flexibility that you can do with this template. It's very malleable to all kinds of use cases. And the last slide here is just a lot of our articles that we've written recently and some things that I might have mentioned in the text or in the talk, so you can find where those are from. But I just really quick, before we answer questions, just wanted to show 3 in-progress examples that aren't published yet of kind of unique collections working with grad students. And so this is an example of a project where the grad student went out into the backcountry and had archival images and then shot the picture and then retook the picture in context. So each one is a set of images, and you can go ahead and use a slider to see the difference between them as it evolves over time. You can view it in a full screen. And so we're able to just take this really interesting data set that she's created and turn it into a very accessible public website that other people can use. Using exactly that same template, I worked with a student to create this poetry and music website where a poet and a musician work together on a collaborative kind of composition. And there's a poem, and then there's music that is associated with it, and then also music associated with each of the parts of the poem. And so you don't immediately think of digital collection when you think of a composition and some poetry, but actually it is a whole bunch of little parts that are pulled together in the template. And so you can get different bits of the composition and you can explore it as a collection instead. And so it's actually really the same template, just looks completely different. And then finally, we have one currently in progress with that's very map based. And so they're writing long form content, taking all kinds of trail cam pictures and videos and oral histories, and then situating it all on the map. So almost all the interaction is moving around on a map, putting those things in their, they call it the deep map approach. So even though these 3 websites look entirely different, in fact, they're all built on exactly the same template. So that's what we had to say today, and I'll try to get to some questions here in the chat and answer them. There's the first question was about TI and XML, and we haven't done that immediately. Well, actually, we have. Olivia's been working on that in a project called The Letters of Marie Mancini, and there's also some other there's some other folks who have been working in that as well. There's called the ED template from Alex Gill and Mari from New York, or where are they from? Oh, Columbia University. And so the ED template is another static web template that specifically was looking at creating additions from TEI. And really it's all about the ability to transform that TI into a usable HTML. And so we work on that with the pre-processing. Olivia's kind of figured out a rake task that can transform the TI into the website that they're working on right now. second question was about accessibility and usability testing. And accessibility testing, one of the that's another kind of benefit of static web in general. It's relatively easy to do that sort of auditing of your site because it's all there. And so we've done pretty good work on making sure that things are accessible. Let me see if I can find a good example. And so there's a lot of features that are kind of built into that. And because it is such a straightforward sort of document template, it's relatively accessible compared to most kind of platforms. And so if you compare our library website versus, say, the university website, ours has, in audit anyways, comes up as having really good accessibility, and the university website built on a content management system does not, because there's just so much complications going on there. And usability testing, we haven't done a lot of formal UX testing right now. There's just that we are using it and actively developing it with a lot of different people and a lot of different collaborators and with our students. And so we kind of gradually are evolving some of that usability. And I think that in the next round of grant funding, that would be something that we'd be very interested in trying to do more formally. If that answers I hope that answers your question, Hillary. So sorry for the very rushed end, but I'm happy to continue answering questions, and Olivia probably would talk more about the TI part if anyone wants to stay on and listen to that.
Yeah, and if Hillary, if you wanna, you're allowed to talk now if you wanna chime in at all. Or if anyone else wants to ask questions live, I can unmute. I can give you permissions. Well, I will say I'm obviously a big fan. Full disclosure, I'm in on a grant with Olivia and Evan to do some training on this. I think it's such an exciting process. And one of the things I'll say about, I really like the way that you guys talked about the kind of the archiving and moving as things go onto different platforms. And as a reproducibility librarian, I'll just highlight one thing that if you're not aware of is that with GitHub, you can create a release, a code release, and push it out to Zenodo so that the wherever you are at that moment will get archived in the EU-backed Zenodo platform. So that's another sort of mechanism that I think is pretty cool.
And gives you a DOI that you get to cite.
Gives you a citable DOI, exactly. Yeah. How do you spell? So Zenodo, is spelled, yep. And if you just Google Zenodo GitHub integration or something, there's a little how-to that will come up that explains how that works. Yeah.
There's a link in the chat to how to cite your code on GitHub.
Fantastic. Yeah, I've actually just been dithering about, we are going to start a blog in our department, and I've been dithering about whether or not to use the kind of UO blog service and the irritating WordPress interface, front-end WordPress interface, and I'm feeling newly inspired to do it using GitHub Pages. And I just noticed that someone raised their hand. Did you, but then lowered it again. Did you mean to raise your hand? But yeah, actually, I'll just be selfish then. If no one else has another question, and ask, have you, obviously digital exhibits are different from blogging, but do you do any, do you see any overlap there, or do you have recommended kind of?
Yeah, so I have my own blog. I think that it is a really interesting take. Scholars Lab at University of Virginia Library, they did a big migration to a static blog for their entire website, and it was very educational focused. Like, that was their argument for why they wanted to do it, that they wanted all of the people that were involved, which is a lot of students, to have that experience of these kind of fundamental web skills. And then you have to have a good purpose to doing that. And so it was, writing their blog posts on for the lab. So I think that, yeah, that's a very real kind of use case. WordPress is pretty great for a lot of things too. It's just that you do need to, weigh these different kinds of problems and options and opportunities. So yeah.
Well, I mean, I think, I'm just feeling that sort of aging process really clearly, because the research data management librarian I took over from, his blog is already so old that it can't be migrated to the new UO blogs, right? And so then, I mean, that's fine, it's older content, but I would have, I'm just imagining this in future as well, and sort of thinking about that migration element, as well as you say, that teaching element, if we're going to be talking about data at the University of Oregon. Will you put in the link? Oh, good, the Scholars Lab blog, yes.
Yeah, just through that. That was their post about why they decided to do that. I think there might be an article as well somewhere.
Great.
I don't have handy.
Thank you. That is fantastic. All right. Well, I know that at least, oh, here we have a question. Can this tool be used for commercial purposes?
Yeah, it's MIT licensed. So if you want to use it for whatever purpose you want, there's nothing built into it that's commercial. There's not like stores and things built into it. That would have to be your own kind of adaptation. It's not something that we're pursuing or actively developing, but it's licensed in a way that it could be reused however you want to do it.
I can certainly imagine using it for an artist portfolio, or kind of getting the word out about.
There's another question about using timeline.js in CollectionBuilder, and we do have, it's pretty easy to implement timeline.js. We have documentation on how to do it. I'm trying to find an example. We have it in a couple of our collections, so I'll try to find that and put it in the chat for you.
There's one in that pandemic flu collection.
Oh yeah, that's right.
We also have these kind of other templates that we've used for just, if you want to do just timeline.js kind of standalone. This timeline.js template is just a website where you just wanted to create some timeline.js's in a self-contained manner. Timeline.js is a really neat teaching tool, and you go on to their website and you can go through and use Google Sheets to create one. The kind of barriers there is that you don't necessarily have a place to put all your images that you want to share on this timeline. So to kind of lower that barrier, we just made this little template. And then the other thing that happens a lot is Google Sheets. They change their APIs all the time. They don't really care about the sustainability of that. And so you'll find that timeline.js goes offline on a regular basis just due to changes in the Google Sheets API or problems in their own infrastructure. And so that's a really cool opportunity to build something, but again, it's not necessarily that it's sustainable in a very long term. And so this little standalone template of that has all of the code and all of the objects in a standalone static template that's not going to go away and not going to get broken. So that's kind of a fun, another little application for that.
Oh, that's super interesting. Thank you. I wish I just had another 40 hours a week to fool around.
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess that we actually do have to go.
Yeah, well, it's now officially 9 minutes after the end of the conference, or this part of the conference, and in about 5 minutes there'll be a little closing up, which will be super fast. Just thank you to everyone again, and probably referring everyone to the slides and such. But if we don't see you there, thank you so much to everyone who's attended on what, at least in Eugene, is a gorgeous day. There will be recordings, yes. In fact, let me put those in the chat here, and we'll also announce those at the end. Yep, let's see here. So the videos will be posted to Online Northwest, to the Portland State University repository. So I'm just putting that in the chat right now. So it's the same place where you'll find the slides. So I'm not. It looks like right now, if you click through for each presentation, you will see the slides for that presentation. And my understanding is that the videos will be added there as well. So we'll have to wait. Zoom has to process them, and then we download them later tonight and edit them, and then they go in. So it'll probably be a couple days, but when that, we'll send a follow-up link with a survey. And at the same time, in fact, if not that I would ever do this, but if you were the kind of person who didn't go to closing sessions, here is a link to the survey as well, and we would love to hear your thoughts about ideas for next year. There's going to be at least one open spot for next year. I think probably a couple for organizing. So thank you all so much, and I will see you.
Thank you.